It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of A Bank in Formation. Take charge of your financial future with your personal bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
Welcome to Your Personal Bank Show, and today I have some very special guests. Those of you that have been listening to the show know that I have been talking about, for the last couple of years about getting involved, because a lot of people ask me all this question all the time. You know, this is a financial show. Why am I talking about politics or the government or these other things? And one of the things I share all the time, as you know, is economic freedoms are part of our freedoms as citizens of this country. And our economic freedoms are tied to all of our freedoms and are as important as any other. So I believe there's no question that the government has been interfering in our lives on an unprecedented level, particularly over the last couple of years. And I've been saying, look, we can't just ignore what's going on. We have to get involved, do something. Otherwise, we're just going to lose our freedoms. So today I have two ladies who I have found incredibly inspiring, and they're doing some stuff that I think is incredibly awesome. And so I've invited Barbara and Corky to join us today, and they are with, their group is the Grassroots Grandmas. So Barbara, Corky, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
So I guess the first thing I should bring up with both of you is, what is Grassroots Grandmas?
Grassroots Grandmas is just two ladies who have 15 or 16 grandchildren between us. Saw what was happening with our country about 15 or 20 years ago. I started studying the Constitution personally, and I found a saying that said, our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for that of any other. We cannot, John Adams said that, and we cannot legislate, we can't make enough laws to make people good. Good happens, and it starts with the family. Anyway, we got together and decided we want to help make our country better because it seemed to be falling apart.
That's really awesome.
Right. Yeah. I think we originally started with the Tea Party movement, which was, 18 years ago now, maybe? I lose track of time. And we met, and we actually formed a Tea Party that met at my house once a month for about a year. When we discovered we were just meeting to be meeting, and we're both doers, and we said we got to stop just meeting to be meeting. We have to accomplish something. And we looked at all the problems that existed out there and decided we had to focus on one, and so we chose education, because we said if we don't start educating our children, learning about their history and learning about, for example, finances and even how finances work, it won't matter how many Donald Trumps you have as presidents. The best presidents out there won't matter if we don't save our educational system. And so we began to focus on that. From the Tea Party, we moved into our legislative district, became involved, became precinct committeemen, got involved with our district, and the first primary we were a part of, we realized we're not to take sides as part of an LD legislative district, but we as individuals could participate, and we realized in this particular election, I think it was back in 2014, that whoever won the primaries would win probably the general election. And so we decided.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, Corky, but that's actually something. Well, two things you just said is, one, like you said, you were initially meeting to be meeting, and I see so many people and groups that are, they have good intentions, but they don't seem to be like getting a lot of traction. That's why I invited you to the show, because I love what you're doing. But then secondly, like you said, you started in the education, and I think Barbara, don't you have an education background? Is that correct?
I don't. Actually, Corky does.
Oh, you
Yeah,
do. Okay.
She's a teacher.
Yeah, I'm a retired teacher now, but taught for many years.
Okay.
I'm on a school board now.
And
I'm
she's
on a West
yes,
Mac
yeah.
school board.
And I was going to say, Corky, again, not wanting to interrupt you, but I learned from you about the whole point of getting involved early in the primaries, because I didn't know this, and I think a lot of people don't, that the Republican Party, for example, just supports whoever wins the primary, which kind of makes sense. But that's why we get so many rhinos and establishment types, because they have a name recognition or whatever, for example. if you want to make a difference, you really need to support a candidate in the primary that you like.
Well, that's exactly correct. And when we actually got involved at the primary level is when we discovered we had to have a name. And so it was just the two of us. And so we came up with it. Well, we're the Grassroots Grandmas. We're all about our grandkids. And it just has stuck. In that first year in the primary, Barbara and I would get up about 4 in the morning, daylight come, and we would be out hitting our neighborhoods in about 2 or 3 precincts. And we delivered about 2,000, 3,000 of our slates on doors that first primary season.
We would just work from 5 o'clock in the morning
Oh, wow.
until
Until
it got
about 8.
hot, about 8
About
or
8, yeah.
8:30.
Now, when you say a slate, these were candidates that you were recommending, or what?
Yes, we
Endorsing.
chose our slate, and
And then we put on it at the bottom of it, it has nothing to do with a legislative district. It only is the Grassroots Grandmas. And it's paid for by the Grassroots Grandmas. And we're recommending who we're endorsing, that we have checked them out to the best we can. And here's our phone numbers. And I think that's a big part of why it was successful,
Yes.
because the phone calls were fabulous.
So nobody
And
was like paying you, or
No, we
it was
just-
you, the two of you, saying, "Hey, we like this candidate. These candidates." We're
yeah,
gonna
it was an idea we came up on our own.
That's
and
awesome.
we just got out there. Like I said, we're doers, and so we got out there and did it. At a picnic about a month later, one of the candidates running held up our golden ticket and said, kind of flashed it to everybody, and said, "These things are golden," and loved the idea, hence the name, the golden ticket. He basically named it that. We just picked gold paper out of just a fluke, just
Sure.
to print them. And of course, the rest is history, because we now distribute these in the general election. In RLD, I think we got out between 30 and 35,000.
I think it was 45,000 the
almost-
last
40
election.
Wow.
40,000 of these on doors. What is key to this is that it remains grassroots. If they
Right.
see it's from the Republican Party or any group, it doesn't carry weight. It carries weight. We keep our phone numbers on there and we distribute them. And the most important thing is that people know who's at the top of the ticket,
Sure.
but they don't know anybody on the bottom of the ticket. And I was raised in a political family, talked politics around the kitchen table growing up. So I always voted, but up until Obama was elected, and I was so fearful when he said he was going to fundamentally change our country and redistribute the wealth, that I knew I had to get far more involved than just going to the polls on election day and voting. And
So you were one of the early ones out there that saw this winds of change coming.
oh yes, right.
We both were.
Noticed we both were, and so I was one of these that would go to vote and go, I like the name of that person. That sounds good, and I'd vote for him, even though I had been raised to be politically aware. I wasn't.
Right.
And most people aren't.
Right.
And so the key to this success is right down to school board, city council, other positions. Constable positions that really are important in our life, sometimes more important than those positions higher on the ticket, that we've made people aware of. And that's, I think, the most important part of this golden ticket now.
And
is-
it's amazing how popular it's become.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
because it's like I liked what you said. It's really what the both of you, based on your belief system and all, who you feel is a good candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know one or both of you said that to me. We had dinner and we talked, and folks, you're starting to understand why I asked them to join, because you're not trying to raise money. You're not trying to do anything. You're just trying to provide a service and help people who are busy like me, who want to vote for the right candidate that follows but doesn't have time to do all the due diligence.
Well, while we were waiting to come in here,
Yes.
we got a call from a friend of mine who said, "Where is your slate? I'm waiting for it, and I have friends that are waiting too." So we're not real techie. So we sit in the car, and Corky finally got it sent out to this friend so that they can.
Awesome.
One of my slates last week, I got a phone call, and so I sent it to her. She happened to be in Yugoslavia.
Wow.
She got it in Yugoslavia and then sent it back here to the United States to Peoria, Arizona to her friends. So the ticket went all the way across the ocean and back again.
Yeah, and
you
I had
go.
one from Colorado. They're on vacation in Colorado and said, my neighbor just called and she needs the ticket.
Absolutely.
So,
So, like you said, it's a grassroots effort, and I think I agree. That's the real strength here, and what needs. So, what legislative districts are you focusing on this upcoming election?
Well, we are now in Legislative District 28. We were in 22, and so some of our representatives naturally have changed with it. So we focus on our legislative district.
Now,
Which,
what area does that your district cover?
well,
roughly?
it's up in the Peoria, Sun City West
Okay.
area,
yeah,
basically.
it goes from Thunderbird, I think, all the way up to Anthem, and then the Sun Cities.
So if somebody was
at
in
least-
the legislative district 28, and so that's like Peoria, Sun City, and vicinities, and they were interested in getting your slate to who to vote for. How would they contact you?
Call us,
What's your
Yes.
number?
602-999-7445.
One more time, Corky.
Mine is 602-290-3415.
Folks, I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in the next segments because I've got Barbara and Corky with us today. Hopefully, we'll get them to stay the whole show because I truly love what they're doing. A good friend of mine who's a precinct committee person now also introduced me to them. This is a gentleman Rick, who I've known a long time. He was in my wedding 20-something years ago. So we've known each other a long time. And he said, you need to meet these two ladies. And he was so right. And I said, you know what? After meeting them, I said, ladies, I need to get you on the radio show and share what you're doing out there. And maybe you'll inspire some others. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment as we come up, about the things that you're doing and maybe some of the things that someone who wants to get involved or help or start something similar in their district, what they could do. So, again, I'm really going to encourage you to stay tuned on this. And I'm just going to finish with this thought because our time's coming up for this segment is, again, if you've listened to this show, you've known roughly about 2 years ago, I was really down. I was really frustrated about the direction of our country. And it's people like Barbara and Corky that inspire me every week and help me realize that all is not lost. We can win this battle. We just got to get in the fight. And so I'm just going to encourage you to do so. And last, before we go, if you need assistance on your financial situation to weather this economic hurricane we're in, contact me at yourpersonalbank.com.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show, and today we have some very special guests, the Grassroots Grandmas. If you missed the first segment, I'm really going to tell you, these are two ladies that have inspired me in a big way in terms of getting involved and making a difference for the better of our country. And so if you missed what we were talking about, what they are all about, go to yourpersonalbank.com. You can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows anytime you want. But Barbara and Corky, thank you for joining us on the program. Welcome again to the Your Personal Bank Show.
Well, thank you again for having us.
So during the break, we were talking about how their focus on this slate of candidates. These are the candidates that you've done the due diligence on, that two of you personally, not through, and no other influence, so to speak. These are candidates that you recommend or endorse. And you mentioned you focus on Legislative District 28, which is Peoria, Sun City area-ish, but you also do endorse candidates outside of your district. So what are some of those candidates maybe outside the district? And then we'll get back into your district.
Well, I think you have to kind of go back in time, and
Okay.
there's been some issues down at the legislation in the House and the Senate that we physically have gone down there
Okay.
to push our issue. So we've gotten to know people who are outside of LD 28. Of course, now with the new lines we
Right.
had. A couple of years ago, there was Nancy Bartow was running against an incumbent in the Senate,
Okay.
and the incumbent that she was running against Heather Carter, voted totally with the Democrats all the time. And Nancy was the one that needed to win, and she needed to win in the primary.
I see.
We got a call from a person who lived in that precinct, in that district, and asked us if the Grassroots Grandmas would endorse Nancy. Well, we knew Nancy because of prior
Dealings
issues.
with her, right.
Yeah, we had been down there,
Right.
and we had no problem with it. So what we did is we wrote up, please support these conservative people, and this is the Grassroots Grandmas asking you to. Here's our phone numbers. We'll tell you why. Nancy Bartow, and we wrote the rest of the other two names on it too. And then we went to the printers, got them printed. I mean, we put this in the computer, we
Right,
design it, we take it to the printer.
This
the
is very
printer,
grassroots.
Yeah, I mean, the printer printed them, and we delivered it to her campaign headquarters. Now, they
Awesome.
delivered them,
Sure.
and she did win in the primary, and it
Wow.
was a really tight race. And a couple of people called up and said, I think it was the Grassroots Grandmas.
You pushed her over,
endorsement."
helped push her over.
Who knows? You know.
But I was going to ask you this too. But I think you had mentioned to me, I think in the last election or two, you've had some extraordinary success on many of these candidates you've endorsed. Roughly how many of them that you endorse end up winning? Any idea?
I would say 80%. Would
Wow.
you say, Barbara? I think quite a few. We do make mistakes now and then, and we admit it. If
Certainly.
we said, hey,
No one's
that
perfect.
candidate fooled us. He was not truthful, told
Right.
us things, and we chose to believe him.
It happens.
But that's politics, and so we do sometimes make mistakes, and people let us know if we did, and we say, hey, next time hopefully we do a better job. This primary, I'll have to admit, was one of the hardest primaries we've worked on because you have a lot of good candidates,
Right.
and it's really hard sometimes. You like both candidates, so.
Right.
In fact, Barbara, you can tell us she was right up to the printer printing these out last week, and she got a phone call, and she was back. She stopped the printing back in the car.
I was sitting in the parking lot at Office Max,
Oh, getting ready to print for a certain
and they
candidate.
started printing, and I called them and said stop.
Oh wow, because something.
I had to get a commitment from one of the candidates.
I see. Yeah, I imagine
It
probably,
took about an hour and a half on the
bet.
phone.
I imagine it is probably difficult, particularly this season, because there's no question the Republicans have the wind in their sails. So a lot of people are running, seeing there's great opportunity.
Yes.
So you probably do
Yes.
have a flood of good candidates dealing with right now.
We do, and that's why it's so hard to endorse as a legislative district in the primary,
Right.
and why we don't do that, because you are pitting one good Republican against another. And
Right.
My biggest beef about the Republican Party is that we eat our own, and
Yeah.
we do such a good job of it. And our primary is so close to our general election that
Right.
by the time your candidate, if they win, has just a short amount of period to try to raise a lot of money and go up against all the lies and exaggerations
Yeah.
made about him by fellow Republicans. And
Right.
I don't know. I wish there was a way to stop that, but I don't know if there is. But
Well, and then you addressed Barbara, I think, addressed one of the other issues that I think most folks who do vote Republican, I know this is a personal beef of mine for decades, is you get these people who are the rhinos, like you said, the one who run as a Republican, then vote 90 or 180, 90, 100% liberal or Democrat.
Right,
So
yeah.
they're literally Republicans in name only.
Right. And in all fairness to the people out there, two things. I thank people for running. Even if
Yeah.
I'm not supporting them,
Sure.
they're running. They're putting
Right.
their name out there.
They
They're
are.
putting their heart out there. And then to the people who vote, and thank you for voting. I wish that they would sometimes look into the people that they're voting for a little more thoroughly, but they're busy.
Right.
They've got jobs, they've got families, they go to church, they go to soccer games, and all of a sudden they see signs up and go, oh, election, I will study it. And then they, good. Well, we're hoping that these golden tickets help them with
Right.
that decision.
And Barbara, I told you this, and I've repeated this up until a couple of years ago, I was not politically active. The people that listen to the show are surprised now. And I say, well, the COVID shutdowns, when they shut down small business, that was my trigger, because I'm an entrepreneur. I've been for almost 30 years. And that hit home. And I said, for a lot of people, there's a trigger, right? Something.
Right.
But prior to that, yeah, I would usually I was raising my family, doing my business, career, all that. And then the usually the presidential debates would start coming out. I'd watch those, start paying attention, try to figure out a little bit more what I could, and then vote. And you're right, all the judges and all these other things, I had no clue who these people are.
Yeah. So
Ironically,
I love
being
what
an
you do.
entrepreneur is ironic because Corky's got 3 children. They're all entrepreneurs. I have 2. They're entrepreneurs. So we know what it's like to meet a payroll.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll worry about meeting that payroll and not taking the money. I mean, building up the business.
Right.
And then we had this crash in 2009 that basically set everybody back. But away we go. We did it again.
Right.
Right.
And here we go again with inflation now.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was going to add, both Barbara and I were extremely involved in our whole election integrity issues, and we canvassed for 10 months, worked the audits, helped count those 2 million votes.
Right.
So very much involved, and feel that if we don't solve this problem with election integrity and make
Right.
sure our elections are fair and honest, nothing we do will matter. So that's one of our first criteria in looking for candidates when we were vetting them.
Right.
Is, do you believe there was election fraud? And what are you willing to fight for and do about it? So that
Right.
was a big part of vetting.
That was
for
our
us,
number one
this
question.
Number one.
There's no question that last particularly have been for a long time, but the last cycle was certainly messy. And there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up, and there's some good news on that front too. So that's been encouraging. I'm going to encourage folks, stay tuned in the next segment with Barbara and Corky, because we were going to share some candidates they're endorsing, but I guess maybe we'll do that in the next segment. So we'll get there. So stay tuned, and if you need to contact me to navigate this financial hurricane, yourpersonalbank.com.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show, and we've got a very special one with some very special guests, the Grassroots Grandmas. As I've been stating, these are 2 ladies who have truly inspired me in terms of, like Corky said, they're doers. And so, like they were sharing, they're out there basically meeting these candidates, doing the due diligence, finding out what's going on, supporting them, creating this slate of candidates, the golden ticket, as you shared before. But you're also, I understand, doing meet and greets. So tell us
Yes.
about that.
In our spare time. Well, it keeps us out of the rocking chair. But we have, like, for instance, I've got a copy of a flyer here. We had a meet and greet for Sherry Sapir, who's running for Superintendent of Public Instructions. We've had them for Mark Fincham. We've had them for Jason Beck. We've had them for...
So what is a meet and greet?
A meet and greet is holding an event, usually in your home, in the neighborhood, inviting all your neighbors to come and meet the candidates. The candidates, you might have just one candidate or maybe up to 3 or 4 candidates that come. We put flyers out on the doors in the neighborhood telling them about the event. And so the neighbors get to come and actually visit, meet personally each candidate, look them right in the eye, ask them any questions they would like to ask them. The candidates will give their little 5-minute spiel, unless it's Jason Beck, and he usually goes an hour. Jason's going to be a great candidate for mayor.
What's he running for?
He's running for mayor of Peoria, and a
okay.
great candidate.
Excellent.
And we've had many people come to the meet and greet supporting the other candidate, and they meet Jason and they
It's
take
all
his
over.
sign and go home, and they change. So, but that's the advantage of being able to talk, meet
Yes.
with them.
And one
in
of the
your
first
home.
ones we had was at your daughter's house. There was
Yes.
over 100 people,
Wow.
and guess who they had there? Carrie Lake.
Carrie Lake. Wow.
Yes.
She was fabulous.
I heard an
And-
interview from her a day or 2 ago. I was impressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have some meet and greets coming up? at this point, or no?
Yes, there is.
So if somebody was interested in attending one of your upcoming meet and greets, how would they find out about it?
Well, right now, probably call that
Okay.
same number.
Give us the number again.
Okay, my number is 602-290-3415. These, not only do we hold them personally, but we recruit people to hold them. So there's several coming up, not in our homes,
Right.
but in other homes in the
And
neighborhood.
if somebody had a candidate that you all agreed on that was a good candidate, and they wanted to hold a meet and greet and get some advice from
Oh,
you.
yeah, perfect.
And
Call.
what's your Barbara's number?
In fact, that's, I've got one. My telephone number is 602-999-7445. There's one coming up on the 29th that I have in the book, and it's exactly what you said. Someone contacted me because they had been at another one and said, I want to hold one at my house.
Excellent.
So I've got Sherry Sapir coming to that one, plus 2 school board candidates. And like on our slates right now for the primary, and we've had other people say, well, I don't agree with your slate. I said, well, do your own.
There you go.
You know, and that's fine. So
Right.
this year we're finding out that there's a lot of slates out there. I love it. I
Right.
love it because people are getting out there.
It's
You not only,
grassroots.
you can endorse these people and you can vet them and you can like them, but you have to think, can they win?
Right.
So that's another thing you have to throw in that vetting process. I mean,
Right.
there might be some on here that we would have preferred another candidate, but logic says, no, we're going to go with this one.
Well, those of you that are listening to the show know the last show, I have a follow-up interview with Blake Masters, who's the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate from Arizona. And we, even at dinner, had some discussions about who we were. I liked Blake. I've met him, and now a couple of times, and interviewed him. You liked Jim Lamont, I know, at the time. I did too. I liked their positions. But like you said, I felt like everything being equal, I felt like Blake had just the slight edge. Now he has a Trump endorsement. Blake does. And I think, I may be wrong, I don't know, but that probably gives him in the polls, he is leading now.
Right,
And that
yeah.
probably is helping him be the front runner. And like you said, I like both. I would be okay with either one.
Well, I think,
But I wanted to back what I thought would probably be the winning horse.
yeah.
Right? And we
Yeah.
can all disagree on that, but
Yeah.
that was my
No, and we
opinion.
agree. That's basically, I think,
Yeah.
where we're coming from. And
Right.
of course, we absolutely love Trump, and
Sure.
but we don't always agree with President
Right.
Trump 100% of the time, and this
Right.
is one. We were
Sure.
on board with Jim Lehman
Right.
from the beginning, and we're still sticking with him.
Sure.
But
But I'd be okay with either one, frankly.
exactly. The bottom line is we got to beat Mark Kelly. Yeah.
No doubt.
And so and we do. We have people that no, they're going to stick with Masters. We're going to stick with
Yeah.
Lehman. So that's
Right.
one of them. We only had a few, but generally speaking,
Well, we also
everyone,
don't want, what's the other one, the Rhino?
Brnovich.
Yeah, that's the one
Yeah.
we don't want to win the primary, right?
Right. But even if he were to win,
We would
he'd
still
still,
want him to
be
be
better than.
Oh, no question.
Yeah. So, but we absolutely love Carrie Lake.
Yeah.
And because education is our main goal, we love her education policy. And we tell everybody go onto her site, carrielake.com. Listen to her interviews, read her policies, and we're just
Again,
Awesome. Well, I'm going to have to cut you off. I'm on a hard break. We're going to come
Yep.
back next segment, so I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned. We got more from the Grassroots Grandmas, so don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show, and we've got a very special show with some very special guests, the Grassroots Grandmas. And I'm going to say again, if you've missed any parts of the previous parts of this show, it's very encouraging, very inspiring for anybody that's even if you're frustrated about the direction of this country, you need to listen to what Barbara and Corky are doing. So I'm going to tell you, go to the yourpersonalbank.com website. You can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows. They all have topics. Go back and listen to the rest of this interview. But again, Barbara and Corky, thank you for joining us today. And I kind of interrupted Corky. We came out last time on a hard break, so I'm going to let you finish your thought.
Okay. Well, I was telling you how much we like Carrie Lake and
Okay.
think she'd make a great governor. And I often
I would say why.
because she'll be a governor of the people.
Okay.
And whereas other governors running, one in particular would be, I think, a governor of special interest. That's probably the biggest difference right there. We love her policy, especially her education policy, because that's what I had told you earlier, both Barbara and I have focused on. And she's a doer. She really is a doer, and
And
that's
the
what we like.
biggest-
She's
One of the biggest things, I don't mean to interrupt you, Corky,
that's okay.
but is that we, like Corky was saying earlier, we worked almost a year on voter integrity issues after
Right.
the election. We were actually at the meeting when Mark Fincham had to rent out the Hyatt and Rudy Giuliani came to town. That was November 30th of 2020. And we've been involved in it since that day for a year. And every time we go to something that has to do with the voter integrity or the bills that we're trying to pass or the reports that are coming out, like 2,000 mules and rigged, Carrie Lake is there. She maybe, people say, well, doesn't have business background. She has educated herself on everything since the day she decided she was going to run for governor. And believe me, she's a fast learner. She's fantastic.
That's awesome.
I really support her.
Well, since you brought up the voter integrity stuff, what are some of the things that you two think need to happen to fix this, so we don't have us? What would you like to see happen to prevent this from happening again?
Well, we don't want election month. We want election day.
Amen.
And
Holiday.
yeah, and make it a holiday if you need to, so everybody
Okay.
gets out to vote. We want smaller precincts, so you vote in your precinct and vote by paper. They all say it's impossible, but we've heard from too many it is very possible.
Okay.
So of course, voter ID, huge. Help me out, Barbara.
One
what are some of the
day,
other things?
voter ID, ballot, no mail-in ballots. The only mail-in ballots that will be legal, as far as I'm concerned, if I get to set this law, is absentee. And in order to do an absentee ballot, you have to send a written letter in the snail mail to the recording office and say, "Hi, I'm Barbara Wiley and I'm away at college in Utah. I would like my ballot mailed here,
You have to request it.
even though I live at here."
Right.
And then they will send your ballot there.
When
So
I was in the
you're-
Army, we did that,
Right. And those are
and
fine.
it worked fine.
But there's a trail on it.
Right.
They have a letter there saying, okay, here's the signature. We know who it is.
Right.
That's okay. But not this mass mail out. I mean, we were knocking on doors. I'll just give you one sample of one conversation quick.
Sure.
I knock on the door, and a person answers the door. I move back 6 feet to be respectful at the time. And I said, "Hi, I'm Barbara Wiley. I'm a volunteer, and this is my friend Corky. She also volunteers. And we are making sure that the people listed on this voter registration list match your address, 1234 West State.
Mm-hmm.
At your address, we have a Tom, Dick, Harry, and Sally."
Mm-hmm.
And this man looks at us and says, "Ma'am, I'm Tom, and I am a registered voter. I got my ballot in the mail. I voted. I also got those other 3 ballots in the mail. I don't know who those people are, and I shredded them.
Right.
And you are guardian angels for doing what you're doing."
Right. Because
He
he could have
wrote
sent
up-
in 4 ballots.
Right.
And then he also proceeded to fill out an affidavit for us. So we were
Right.
able, so many homes that we came across were like this. And
It's-
people filed affidavits because they're upset. They're upset to know that people are registered to vote at their home and either haven't lived there for years or never lived there. And that brings to the other thing we need to fix is our voter registration rolls. They are totally a mess. And
Right.
we need to get rid of the system called the ERIC system. We need to
What is the ERIC system?
well, it's a way that they can supposedly track voters, registered voters, and if they move to another state.
There's a
but-
lot of states that are in this system, and it's archaic. I mean,
see.
it's technology, which we're not, big on
Right.
that, but it's all these states, and then they're trying to keep track. Okay, if somebody lives in Phoenix and then they move to Chicago, they're supposed to come off the rolls. It doesn't happen. It's crazy.
Well, in your situation you brought up, Barbara, the reality is the other people were probably folks that did live at
They
that
may
house
have.
previously, and it's just never been updated. And this is a discussion, quote unquote, argument I've had with many people where they say, well, mail-in ballot. I said, no, what you need to understand is there's a difference between, like you said, an absentee ballot where somebody requests a ballot because they're in the military or in college or whatever, and they're a legitimate voter, but they happen to be out of state for that reason, versus just blanket mailing ballots.
Truly.
That just opens up the potential for a mess.
Yeah.
Even if there's no
yeah.
fraud, it's still just
Yeah.
a mess.
And of course, this last
which
election,
dilutes all our votes.
exactly. In this last election, especially in other states, but ours as well, all kinds of mail-in ballots went out
Everywhere.
randomly. Yeah, so the fraud that was rampant,
Right.
and we know that. I don't understand. You register your car every year,
Right.
right? So why don't you re-register to vote maybe every 2 years? And you just re-register. It could be a simple 5-minute procedure that you do, and that way it cleans up all the rolls pretty quickly. I mean, to me, it'd be a simple fix. But
Well, that's too common sense, Corky.
right.
Way too common.
Yeah, way too.
I mean, and it's not politically advantageous for certain folks, and that's
Right,
if
but-
it was, it would be.
Yeah,
If it was
yeah.
important, was it Thomas Sowell? I repeat this all the time. We all know politicians have 3 priorities: to get elected, to get reelected, and every other priority, well, far below the first 2. Right?
It's true.
Right.
It's
All right.
true.
So if somebody wants to get involved to either help you out, maybe do a meet and greet, get some advice, or maybe
Or
you
get our
know,
golden ticket.
get your golden ticket, or any of those things. Where could they reach you to get this information?
Again, my phone is 602-290-3415. My email, they can email me. It's all lowercase, Corky, C-O-R-K-Y, Haynes, H-A-Y-N-E-S, the number 4, @gmail.com.
And Barbara, your contact info.
Mine is 602-999-7445. And the email is T as in Therese, WYLLIE7, the number 7, @gmail.com.
And folks, if you do reach out, you're going to get a hold of Corky or Barbara. I mean,
True.
it's them. And so if you miss that contact information, I'm just going to tell you, go to yourpersonalbank.com, go back to this interview. It'll be the Grassroots Grandmas, Barbara and Corky. And you can listen to this segment and get the contact information, or reach out to me at yourpersonalbank.com and I'll get you their contact info. Are there any other ideas, candidates, anything else you want to share? We got a few minutes
Well,
left.
we really think you could have a great team with Sherry Sapir in our state superintendent of schools, and then we have 2 great candidates in the Peoria School District,
Okay.
which we're hoping to get elected.
And their names?
Devin Updegraff Day and Heather Rooks
Okay.
are running for school board. They will be instrumental in hopefully helping to turn our schools around. And we
And-
need this in every single school district.
We
So
do.
I would say you want to get involved, start there, because that's probably the most important
School
election
boards.
is school boards.
And
that you
I'm
can
on a
get
school
involved with.
board.
And it's Sherry Shapir, you said.
Sherry Shapir, oh my gosh, I mean, she even
Superintendent of
talked about
schools,
bringing
right.
in Hillsdale curriculum. How great
Wow.
would that be? I mean, yes.
So that would
I
be
mean,
through the
it-
entire state, right?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Wow.
She is excellent. I just say, what a team. If we love Mark Fincham because he's been from the get-go on this whole election integrity. He knows so much. He's traveled throughout the United States working with other secretaries of states to get on top of this.
Now that'd be for Arizona.
That'd be
State-
for Secretary of State.
Mark Fincham. Okay.
Uh-huh. Lots of great attorneys for Arizona Attorney General, and we did go back and forth. Well, you know, we've have supported several of them. We've ended up going with Abe Hamadah.
Abraham Hamadah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because we think they could make a great team in approaching everything from election integrity to border problems to everything else.
Right.
So, and then with Sherry Sapir, I mean, if you had that team, wow. Watch Arizona just flourish.
Oh,
I
we'll
mean,
have the best educational system in the United States of America.
And then with the new, I saw
That
they
new
just
law?
passed
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Oh, what's it called?
the ESA,
Yeah, it's where, you know, the
Education Savings Accounts.
right, so parents can send their kids to wherever they want in
Right.
Arizona.
And
Yeah,
well, and
we'll
then
be
the
trendsetters.
state
We'll-
federal legislation too changed it so that the funds can go to private schools.
Right, I saw that.
That's great.
Yes.
That is awesome.
So we have the chance here in Arizona to set all kinds of trends, from being the first state to ever audit an election,
Right.
you know, to I think weren't we last election? I think the state that had the biggest flat tax of any state in the country last election season. Now we've got our school, you know, where the money follows the kids.
Right.
that's
So we're
huge.
setting a lot of trends, and I can't think of anybody better to lead us to continue with these trends would be Carrie Lake at the helm, Mark
folks-
Fincham.
So, folks, if you haven't heard, they like Carrie Lake for governor of Arizona.
Yeah,
But that
and,
would you're right. That would be awesome because
would
you
be.
know, if Arizona really took off and started really thriving, there's a lot of other places would say, "Hey, what are they doing?" to start copying.
Yeah,
Yes.
competition is good.
Absolutely.
we worked with Liz Harris, who headed up the whole canvassing, and her motto was let Arizona be the first domino to fall.
There you go.
And that was and we still could be. There are others now. Wisconsin right now is
The Supreme Court
looking to
decision.
Supreme
I was
Court,
pretty
yeah,
excited about
but,
this. Yeah, no
yeah.
drop boxes, right?
we have
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Well, we still have them here. Not
We
much
do.
has changed. That's the other thing I would stress. Get involved for poll watching
Yep.
and observe. You know, sign
How,
up.
how would somebody do that? So if they're interested in poll watching or something,
Again, they can call us because
Okay.
we have the training that they have to
Yeah.
go for, a little training. It's not
Yeah,
hard.
Got it.
and they're having, I think, great deal of success. I'm hearing lots of people are calling. They want to get involved, and can be trained, you know, to be poll watchers. I think they've got enough poll
And
workers.
I
I'm not
have
sure.
had a couple people recently say, I am involved now, and I wish I would have done this years ago, but I had no clue on how to do it.
right.
And people do say that even still today. And when they say, well, what would I have to do if I get involved? I said, the best way to start, the first thing to do is find out what legislative district you live in.
right.
If you picture the state of Arizona has 30 legislative districts. So you can just break it up however you want. We live in the legislative district 28. Find out what legislative district you're in, find out when they meet, and go to those meetings once a month. They're usually about 3 hours long. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to introduce
Just get to
yourself. You
learn.
don't have to do anything. You can just sit there and observe and find out who the players are and where you can fit. And
Well-
that's kind of what Corky and I did. We sat
Barbara,
back, looked.
Corky, it's been a pleasure. It's been inspiring. I'm excited about the future for our state and this country based on people like you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to say last thing I'll leave with, if you want to have assistance, help on navigating this economic hurricane tsunami we're in, call me or contact me at yourpersonalbank.com.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.